Imagine if you were born in 1900. When you're 14, World War I begins. It ends when you're 18 with 20 million deaths, 21 million wounded. And before you can even make sense of that, you're 18 years old and a third of the world's population are infected with the Spanish flu and 50 million people die. 675,000 deaths in the United States. And through the grace of God, you come out alive and free. You're now 20 years old. You have maybe a good 9 years, maybe. And then the global economy collapses. And the beginning of the collapse of the New York Stock Exchange. Half of America's banks fail. Your parents most likely lost everything. You could have been rich. Now you're poor. Unemployment now reaches 20%. And for 10 years, your world is thrust into a deep depression. When you're 33, the Nazis rise to power. By the time you're 39, World War II begins. 6 years later, you're 45, and the Holocaust, you just find out, has killed 6 million Jews, and 60 million people have died around the world. Some fighting for freedom, some fighting for domination. Think of this. When you're 52, the Korean War begins. 64, it's the Vietnam War. That doesn't end until you're 75. What was life like for the last generation? A man or woman who was born in the year 1985 thinks his grandparents have no idea how difficult their life is right now. Really? Really? I don't think we have any concept how difficult their life was. A 25-year-old born in 1995 thinks it's the end of the world when his Amazon package takes more than 3 days to arrive, or when he doesn't get more than 15 likes for a photo posted on Facebook or Instagram. Some of us stop talking to friends or family just because they're not going to vote the way we think they should. Now, this isn't to say that our time isn't fraught with trials and tribulations. It is. The situation is serious today. It's election day in America. Those who have yearned to be free, those who look to America to set the standard, we oftentimes dismiss. But those who are imprisoned, those who are enslaved, those who really truly understand the rights of man, they're on edge today. Humanity has survived dire consequences. Humanity has never lost the joy of living. Americans never really lost their goodness or their innocence. We will if we give up on our neighbor. We will if you give up on yourself. If you think that this is just too much, come what may, this is too much. How unlikely is it? How strange or almost inconceivable that all of this is coming down to us, our generation. Did they feel that way in World War II? That man's freedom was at stake. It was easier because they had guys dressed up, in black uniforms with red armbands. Well, those same people were marching in the streets here in America. Those same people, it was accepted in New York and New Jersey. They had huge, huge towns full of Nazis. It was okay. See, the line was blurred for them back then as well. But it's coming down to us. They say the founders, they didn't see this coming. They didn't see bazookas. Yeah, well, another thing they didn't see? That their glorious, sacred Declaration of Independence and Constitution would come down between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Think of that. Today is the day that this generation of Americans vote, and not for president or Senate, not against one side or the other, but for something. How many Biden supporters or voters are voting against Donald Trump, and they are failing to see what's behind their side? Because their side is, I can't take him anymore. That's how they see it. We're not voting for president or Senate today, and we're not voting against anything. We are voting for something, whether or not the American experiment should continue or a new form of economics and rule should be found. Our vote is one of two things: a vote as a declaration of independence, or a surrender, a declaration of dependence, that man can't rule himself. He needs overlords and Ivy League intellectuals. They'll make the decisions for us. A declaration that the free market enslaves, not frees people. That our traditions, our flag, our anthem, they're all lies that have literally killed and must be erased. That the traditional nuclear family just promotes hatred, misogyny, has to be destroyed. And our children, they don't belong to the parents. While half of America is too lacking in basic critical thinking skills, and that's the only reason why anyone could support Donald Trump, the intellectuals will say, our children possess the thinking skills to decide to take hormones and forever alter their sex and their lives at 8 years old. And anybody who disagrees needs to be silent. If you want to argue that no, men cannot have periods, you have to be silent. The other side makes the case that women are unique and powerful, but men can be women too. The choice we make today is one to question with boldness even the very existence of God, for if there be a God, he must surely rather honest questioning over blindfolded fear. To debate it out in the strongest of terms in the public square, to not be afraid of the truth, to not be afraid of exposure, to not silence anyone else, or to believe without question, to believe without debate because the debate is over, to believe without dissent. To believe the main thesis that the entire American story can only be told through the lens of racism, bigotry, and hatred. I reject that. How unlikely is it that it comes down to us? I'm telling you it's not unlikely at all. I'm telling you, you were preserved and born in this country at this time. You were preserved for this time because we've already fought this battle before. And if you just will not fold in to the new wisdom of the world, we will fight this and remain standing. How unlikely is it that the man The person that is standing between the Constitution of the United States and Marxism is Donald Trump. How unlikely is it that the man standing between liberty and tyranny is Donald Trump? How unlikely is it that the man standing strong for the values that we built in America, the values, is Donald Trump? That's the way many people will want to look at this. But he's not standing alone. He's just one man standing. He happens to be at the point of the spear, but he's one man standing. Millions of us are standing with him. Millions that don't maybe even like him, don't think that he's healthy for the way he tweets and everything else. Some people who love him. But together with our differences, we're coming together and standing, not for him. Standing for the country. You see, we're not a nation divided. You're not required to like the president. You're not required to do anything about the president other than vote for one that you think will preserve and protect the United States of America, our traditions, all the good things, not shoving the bad things away. There's nothing wrong with talking about the truth of American history that is bloody and gory and awful. I'll talk about that, but I also want to discuss all the great things that this country did. But your choice today is between that, not a rosy picture of America that is always right. I think everybody can admit, man, we have really screwed things up from time to time. We're doing it now. But if you make the choice to go left, you must forget all of the things this country has done right. You must condemn our traditions. You must condemn our history. You must condemn our founders and our Declaration of Independence. That's why millions are standing. Many of us are united in our love for country and the principles on which it was founded. Look how many people came together at Trump rallies to support freedom and the American ideals. They say 40 to 50% of that audience in some places in Pennsylvania were Democrats. This is not a cult of personality that attracts millions of our fellow citizens, even though that's what the media and the left would like you to believe. It's not a cult at all. It's a bond of liberty. It's a declaration of independence. It's a vote of hope. It's a pledge of our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Don't get me wrong. What comes today, tomorrow, and the days ahead scares the hell out of me. I don't know which way this election's going to go. But I'm inspired by what I see. And I remember who we are. The left can't stop the goodness of America. They can try. They can put us all in lockdowns, but we'll use that time to reconnect with our families and remind ourselves what we value most. They can call us racist, and we'll look deep into our hearts and the hearts of our fellow men and search for justice and mercy. They can encourage violence in our streets, but we will not give in to mob rule. We will stand up with the strength of kindness. You can't put a lid on America. You can rewrite our history. But we will study and teach the truth and keep it alive. Even if we have to do it in our basements quietly. They can pretend the climate is going to destroy the earth, but we still see the spacious skies and the amber waves of grain. They can pretend that Marxism leads to equality, but we will never deny what we know to be true after failed experiment after failed experiment. Marxism only leads to slavery and destruction. If America votes to try a new way today, That's fine. But the American dream will go on. They can't stop America because you can't put a lid on hopes and dreams and people. You can't put a lid on innovation and entrepreneurship, on the God-given right of free agency. You can't stop America because we won't let you. They can't put us in the basement like they do with Joe. We're not sleepy. America is wide awake. And today, we're voting. Not for a president. Not for the Senate. But for an America we know still lives.